right, so now we're moving into circles, and this will get us all the way through section 2. So I have the basics here with the formula, I have an example, and then we're going to do a more difficult example when we get to the next cleaning of the whiteboard. Anyway, the standard form for a circle is this. It's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. If you look really close, it's the distance. It's the distance formula, or the Pythagorean theorem again. If you just take the square root of both sides, you have your radius, which is the distance from the middle of the circle to the edge, equal to that square root again. So you have a distance equal to the distance formula. A couple of important things to note here. H and k are the numbers we're going to use for the center. Now the formula has minus signs, so you'll notice that down here for the center I have h and k, but up here I have minus h and minus k. And this is really important because there's a lot of times that this gets confused. People give me the wrong signs. It's really easy to do because, hey, that's a minus sign. I get it. But we need to be careful. Basically what we're trying to think is h is what you could plug in here for x, and it would make 0. K is what you could plug in for y, and it would make 0. Okay, so you need to be really careful with the signs for the center. The radius is, we have r squared over here. The radius is just r. So here's an example, and let's talk through this a little bit. I have x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 25. Now, for the center, again, the x-coordinate will be what makes 0, and that's a negative 2. Notice it looks like a positive 2, but the center coordinate is negative 2. Same thing over here. It looks like a negative 4, but 4 minus 4 would be 0, so the y value is actually 4. So the center is always really opposite of how it looks in the formula, and that's just something to really be careful with. It's easy to make a mistake with, and we don't want that to happen. For the radius, we have this 25 sitting over here, but remember in the formula, that's the radius squared. So all we have to do is take the square root of 25, that gives us 5. That one comes out nice, so you should absolutely tell me that it's 5. If this were the square root of 30, that's not a nice number. Feel free to just leave it as the square root of 30. I don't need to simplify those radicals. All right, I've got one more example. This one's going to be super fun, and it's going to involve completing the square, but give me just a second to change the board. All right, so here I have a more complicated example. Find the center and radius. That doesn't seem so bad, but look at how I set this thing up. This is a mess. We have x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 4y minus 3 is equal to 0. That doesn't look like standard form. Okay, we had the standard form in the last bit of the video, so hopefully you can look back at that and see it. But that's not standard form. And so what we need to do is we're going to have to rearrange some things. We're going to have to make some changes so that we can get this in standard form. You'll notice that way down here I have it in standard form. I'm going to show you how I get here, though. So we need to get it in standard form. Once we get it there, we can pull out the center and the radius. That's not going to be a big deal, but getting it there is going to be all the fun. So here we go. I start by rearranging things. So I want my pieces with the x's together, so I make it x squared minus 6x. And then I'm going to leave a space because I'm going to need to add something here, and we'll see that in just a second. And then I put my y's together, y squared plus 4y. And you'll notice I also took that minus 3 and moved it to the other side. So I have 2 places here to add pieces, and if I'm going to add on the left, I have to also add on to the right. So 4 total blanks that we need to fill in. Here's how we're going to fill those in. What we're going to do is we're going to complete the square for both x and for y. Now remember, hopefully remember from previous algebra classes, completing the square takes something like x squared minus 6x, and it turns it into a binomial square. And so you can see I turned it into x minus 3. Let's take a look at how we got to this. So the idea is you take the number with the x. In this case, you take that negative 6. So I take the negative 6, and I brought it over here so we can see it, and I cut it in half. Negative 6 over 2 is negative 3. Now notice that negative 3, hey, that's what goes inside the parentheses. So that's what this says here. It says in the parentheses. So my minus 3 goes in the parentheses with the x. There's my x minus 3 squared. But what I'm needing to do still is I'm still needing to add something so that it will factor that way. So we take that negative 3 and we square it. When you square it, you get 9, and that's what we're going to add to both sides of the equation to complete the x's. Okay, so we took the negative 6, cut it in half. That gave us the -3 that goes on the inside. When you square -3, that gave us the 9 that we were adding to both sides. Then we did the same thing for the y's. Here my middle number is a +4, so I took the +4 and cut it in half, and that gave me a 2. You'll notice down here for the y's, I have y plus 2 squared. When you square 2, you get another 4, so that goes in this blank and in this blank over the other side. And so now we can see 3 and 9 and 4 make 16. Here is my standard form. So once you finish completing the square for both x and y, you get these, and it's beautiful. Now you can see the center. Remember, it always works kind of like opposites. It's not -3 for x. It's going to be +3. It's not +2 for y. It's going to be -2 for y. And then the radius is the square root of 16, which is 4. So there you go. That's circles. Good luck and have fun.